You know what would be a great idea? Is a countdown screen instead of what I got going right there. Perhaps it's something that I'll work on over the weekend. But anyway, what's up everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian and welcome to Strike Force episode 199. That's it. That's right. Just one more episode until the big 200. Whoop whoop. So anyway, yeah, sorry that I'm a little bit late on actually starting the show. I was a little bit rushed and work was a bit of a crunch on trying to get off of that and then trying to prep all this stuff. But, oh, actually, I did not mean to show that just yet. But, yeah, how are y'all doing? Hope you're having a good time. And no one in the chat says, and by the way, hello, no one. He says, my brother from another mother. I caught your last live stream with the Marxist who called himself libtard. And wow, what ignorance. Well, I'm glad that you liked it. But the last thing that I uploaded was actually a highlight video of that live stream. But the live stream, of course, is in the Strike Force playlist if you care to watch that in full. But anyway, so today, let's get a little bit silly, shall we? Well, sillier than normal. I mean, the whole aesthetic that I got going here, you're probably thinking is pretty silly, or some people might even call it cringe or whatever. Some people have even said it's so gay, so gay. But it, for first things first on what the subject matter was gonna be about, just a little something that I had heard about on the radio on my way back home from work is apparently Billie Joe Armstrong, the main lead of Green Day, so supposedly anyways, he filed paperwork to be running for president in 2024 as a Republican. Green Day lead Billie Joe Armstrong running for president in 2024 as a Republican. Now, it ain't too surprising that in this day and age, we might have, a big old celebrity politics or politics of celebrities. You got Kanye West and Donald Trump who ran for president, and you got had people like Kid Rock flirting with the idea, and Dwayne Johnson too, for that matter. So it ain't too surprising on that front. But what was really surprising about this was Billie Joe Armstrong running as a Republican for president. What? That doesn't make any sense. I thought that Billie Joe Armstrong was a San Francisco passionate liberal, leftist even. In which, going to reading into this actually, it turns out that it might most likely be just a troll job. I mean, just because you see, I can't remember where exactly I read the quote, but later on in this article, you actually go seeing him saying that he is not afraid to call, oh, here it is. I have no problem telling ignorant fucks like you to go to hell. Is one of the things that he said to Trump supporters this last go around as far as presidential elections go. So it just struck as really odd to me. Why would he be running as a Republican? I mean, would he be running as a plant or something or other? That was the first thing that I was thinking. But then going into actually reading this, there is actually, it looks like it could be a troll, most likely anyways, because the alleged vice presidential nominee that he wants is Saint Jimmy of the Krusty Krab, as he written on the little file and papers right here. So it's most likely just a troll, but I think he is giving it away way too soon, because this just in of itself was just overly... It was too funny to have gone too soon, to be gone, noticed as fake too soon. The idea of Billie Joe Armstrong, a passionate liberal, the guy who cried, who sang the song American Idiot, would be running as essentially a right-winger, or at least what we consider in the conventional sense to be a right-winger, that being a member of the Republican Party or whatnot. And it was just a troll that was gone way too soon, apparently. But who knows? We'll see of what the future may hold. Maybe he'll flirt with the idea again. But so far, it looks like it just may be a big, fat publicity stunt. So anyway. Ivan's son says, cool people don't wear masks. Well, good thing I'm not a cool person, Ivan's son. But anyway. Just, So getting on to the actual main subject of the live stream, as you might tell by the title here, PV doesn't like humor. It's obviously, as you can tell by the thumbnail and whatnot, this is a live stream that is responding to the progressive voice. And as you might have heard, Steven Crowder recently gotten a whole lot of hot water for at least allegedly, racist rant that he did over the black farmers reparations aspect of the COVID relief bill. I have a feeling that he goes that he is against the COVID relief bill in its entirety, but he decided to just poke fun at the whole reparations side of the bill. And apparently a whole lot of leftists did not like that, and YouTube wasn't so fond of it either. But what was really the breaking point for YouTube anyways was that they took down his live stream, the episode of Louder with Crowder, where he goes on that racist rant. It was the whole thing that he said about COVID-19, spreading supposed misinformation. I haven't actually looked into the information that he provides about COVID-19 and how true or false it is. Perhaps it'll be something that I'll look into in the future. But for right now, this ain't really so much about COVID-19 itself and the effects and whatnot. This is more about Steven Crowder, making jokes, cracking jokes, rather racially insensitive jokes, and being called a racist by a progressive voice and whatnot. So, without further ado, I guess we shall just get into it now, shall we?
So people are really sounding off right now because Steven Crowder went on a pretty wildly racist tirade against black farmers. Now, if you don't know, the stimulus package included $5 billion in relief for black farmers, especially because of the long history of the United States in terms of discriminating against black farmers. Now, as you guys know, farmers, especially in recent past couple of years, have been on the receiving end of a lot of relief. You know what I mean? So they've been on the receiving end.
Yeah, a lot of that relief is because of Trump's own tariffs. It almost seems to be kind of, I don't know, I don't know if self-defeating would be the right word, but Trump was trying to put a band-aid over his own mistake when his original tariffs ended up hurting farmers, and then he gives out subsidies to farmers. Which, to comment back on that subject just a little bit, you know what would have been a better idea for Trump is if he did not do the tariffs in the first place so as to not hurt the farmers. Therefore, he would not have needed to give out subsidies to the farmers, in the first place. But anyway.
Of a lot of relief, but there's always inequities in almost literally every area of life in the United States. Black people are always getting the short end of the stick of pretty much everything. And so there's no difference when it comes to the credit and relief that black farmers were given, and we'll get into that in a second. But what you're going to see here is Steven Crowder reacts to this piece of legislation inside the big package of COVID relief, and what you're going to see is him and his buddies are just going to go full-on racist and use basically every single stereotype you can imagine.
So he's joking about stereotypes. My question is, what if a black comedian was to be making, poking at white people's stereotypes? Is that equally as hateful, bigoted, and racist as well, Sahil? That's one of the big questions that I want to pose. And also, another thing that I want to annotate about this live stream, going throughout this video and responding to it, is that we're going to be responding to two sides of this video. First, there's going to be the humor and, racist allegations side of it, racist allegations against Steven Crowder and his crew anyways. There's that side of it, and then we're also going to be looking at the more statistical and policy-wise side of this video. Anyway, no one in the chat says, I think Donald Trump was a pretty good president, but let's face it, he was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Precisely, no one.
I don't know where you find this many farmers of color. But they did, and $5.2 billion are being allocated exclusively for colored farmers. Farmers of color, roll the tape.
We begin today's show looking at a major provision in President Biden's $1.9 trillion.
I cannot remember what the exact number was, but I think the amount of farmers that there were that happened to be black, it did not even amount to 100,000 people. Like, it was something around 50,000. I mean, I could be wrong in that, but that's what I remember reading recently of how many black farmers there were, or farmers of color, for us to be politically correct. So, $5 billion to that amount of people, that is a whole lot of dough per person. But anyway.
COVID relief bill that aims to address decades of discrimination against Black, Hispanic, Native American, and Asian American farmers who've historically been excluded from government agricultural programs. The American Rescue Plan sets aside $10.4 billion.
Now, you heard that in the background. One of the co-hosts of Steven Crowder, Vladimir Crowder, was asking, you got any receipts on this? And to Sahil's credit, well, okay, Democracy Now! Does not go providing receipts on this, but Sahil goes trying to provide receipts, but it's nothing but a Fortune article that I actually have pulled up, but we'll get into that as we cross that bridge. We'll cross that bridge as we come to it. Excuse me.
$1 billion for agriculture support and allocates about half the funds to farmers of color who are, quote, subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice because of their identity as members of a group, unquote. The U.S. Commission on Civil Rights confirmed as long ago as 1965 the U.S. Department of Agriculture discriminated against black farmers, but little was done to address the problem.
100 years ago?
Yeah, most happy about the new policy, these people. So, yeah. I'm gonna buy a plow, man.
I'm gonna plant that corn.
Go get a John Deere. Barack Obama, mother, I'm the president of plowing that ass. You.
I thought the last thing they would want to do was be farmers. Wasn't that a big problem for hundreds of years?
Yeah.
Isn't that why Arsenio Hall called himself the urban?
Now, it's a, sort of a play on the whole goal of the Civil War, and what was sort of one of the driving reasons for the Civil War and the civil rights activism around the time of the Civil War. I mean, of course, when you go explaining a joke, it's not really funny, but the reason why I go explaining it is because you gotta explain as to why that something is funny, apparently, when somebody goes thinking why it's not funny, or why they think that it is, like, seriously hateful or whatever.
Man's Johnny Carson?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Are people lining up out in the middle of cornfield, Iowa for new dunks?
How would you prove this, by the way? Like, how would you prove that?
I don't know what the whole new dunks thing is, what that's supposed to be a play on. I mean, the only thing, a dunk, I mean, talking about black people's stereotypes anyways, as they are, like, playing off of and making fun of, the only thing I can think of is basketball, I guess, but nonetheless, I don't know what he's exactly referring to, so do not quote me on that.
You've been discriminated
You don't
against.
have to, you just
Well, I
say.
didn't get that loan. Sir, you had no credit. Well, that should not have stopped me from getting the loan.
I planted a Hennessy tree, but it's not.
Which that is like one of the questions that I have about this whole narrative that Sahil goes posing, and all the leftists around this story in general about the whole reparations portion of the COVID relief bill, and all the leftists responding to Steven Crowder on this issue. Is the credit score, the average credit score anyways, of a black American anyways. Like, I'm not so well read into that myself, and I wish I would have had more time to go researching into this subject. But for, like I said a little bit earlier, I was kind of crunched for time today and the work day and whatnot. And I did read like some of this literature, like the pre-reading the article that Sahil goes looking into. But if you guys want any information about this when it comes to credit scores or when it comes to redlining, as Sahil goes mentioning here in a little bit, go watch Actual Justice Warriors about redlining that I actually have linked in the description box below, as he does a pretty good job of explaining this. It's a little bit hard to wrap your head around as he goes like dumping so much information in one sitting. But nonetheless, that's what I'm going to like settle for right now as far as sourcing goes. I'll have to like look into his actual sourcing myself sometime. So I don't know. I'm just settling on other people's videos for right now because, like I said, I did not have a whole lot of time for research and whatnot. But moving on.
Growing.
Well, well, technically it did grow, but that shit ain't XO.
I put it in the ground.
I planted a VSOP XO tree. I'm getting in some niche esoteric cognac humor, motherfucker.
Don't white people just go to their neighborhoods and build urban farms and ruin their communities? Isn't that what
That's how it works.
in Detroit? Like, turns out the soil content is a high level of meth.
Yeah, crazy. Whoa.
Wow, I didn't know.
That and teeth.
There's
random teeth littered everywhere.
Teeth. For some reason, when I kept on hearing, listening to this portion of the video right here, I kept on hearing T for some reason. T-E-A, not teeth. But anyway.
And by the way,
pain in my arugula.
So obviously what you can see there was incredibly racist. Also incredibly...
To Sahil's credit, some of those jokes did not land exactly, and they were a little bit cringy, and I was just thinking to myself, oh, come on, Steve, just slow it down, just stop. But there were a few that were, like, funny, like, I could mention probably at least one anyways off the top of my head. But, and I guess a few of the impersonations were somewhat funny. But Sahil here is just going to say that it was outright not funny and just outright hateful, or more specifically, racist. I mean, again, a big question, Sahil. Is a black comedian playing or making fun of white people stereotypes also equally racist as well? Anyway.
incredibly unfunny.
No one in the chat says, weren't the people that were doing all the discrimination Democrats? Yep, that would be, of course, back in the good old days, right? But I say that sarcastically, by the way, folks, when I say good old days. Within this subject anyways.
So he's kind of committed to the main sins here, one being incredibly racist and B being incredibly unfunny.
Well, humor is subjective, progressive voice, so do not go acting like that your standard of humor is objective or anything like that.
So what you saw there, obviously, they even made a joke about, slavery, essentially, when the guy says, I thought they didn't want to do farming. I'm assuming that's a reference to saying, they were slaves, I thought they didn't want to be that anymore.
It's a reference to the whole cotton fields thing. Like, that was one of the biggest, or at least one of the most well-known trades that black people were enslaved to do back during the slave days. But you seriously did not find that funny, Sahil? Like, do you have any sort of sense of humor? Like, if I was to, like, give my opinion, that was probably, like, the most funny. It probably even goes so far to say that was probably the only funny thing of that whole spiel that Steve and his co-host gave. But, at least that one thing, if anything was funny, it was at least that one poke. I thought black people didn't want to be farmers. When I originally got watching it, my original reaction was that was the only thing that got really a chuckle out of me. I could see why how other people would find the other stuff funny, but that was the only thing that I would have said was that I did say and do say was outright funny. But most of it, I will say, was kind of over the top. I can agree. Well, not most of it, but at least half of it, anyways, was over the top. And I personally did not find it funny, but I'm not going to necessarily call them all hateful or racist or anything just for going off of that. If anything, I would say that they are at least being tryhards, trying a little bit too hard on being provocateurs and whatnot. Like, that's the goal of Steve and his co-host right here. It was twofold. One, to entertain their own audience, and two, to be provocateurs and gain the attention of leftists. And the second one, well, as shown by Progressive Voice making this video, he was kind of successful in that. Steven was, anyways.
Bizarre. Also, playing on this stereotype that every black person is this Hennessy drinking, meth doing, rap listener with the accent that he's using or whatever. Incredibly.
Well, what if somebody was to make jokes about how white people are pickup truck driving, country listening, mayonnaise lathered sandwich eating hillbillies and rednecks. I mean, is that equally wrong as well, Sahil? Somebody was to just be making lighthearted fun out of that. You know, I almost here. Let me see if this is a pausing point.
Incredibly stereotypical, very, very damaging. Obviously, it's just a massive piece of shit move. It's just not
damaging to what and to who? Damaging to people's feelings, to leftist feelings. I mean, that's the only thing that I could imagine being damaging right here with what they said and whatnot with this whole clip right here. Other than that, how's it damaging? It's not like that they are advocating, hey, let's take away all the farm equipment from black people or whatever. And the only other thing that they are advocating for, or at least is implied that they're advocating, is no more relief, and particularly no reparations. Which I will say that I kind of wish that Steven Crowder and his co-hosts went a little bit into detail on the bill itself. Like, let me pull this up here for a second. As I said like a little bit earlier, Steven Crowder's episode of Louder with Crowder got pulled down off of YouTube, but I was able to find a copy, a re-upload of it, which was actually from this this very, very small YouTube channel, Clan OSG, where he re-uploads the episode, but with some League of Legends footage playing in the background. And I listened to the whole thing, and it was kind of disappointing because Steve and his co-host did not go into actual detail about the COVID relief bill and as to why that they are disapproving of it in all seriousness. All they did was just joke about it. They did not go into the serious subject matter of it. Why is it that they did not do that? I don't know. Maybe it's because they have made anti-reparations arguments many times, many-fold beforehand, and so they were just getting tired of repeating themselves over and over again, so they just decided, screw it, we're just gonna have fun with this instead of actually getting serious. That's the only thing that can make sense to me, but still, why not go into the serious subject matter of it? Why you're so disapproving of it, Steve? But yeah, if you want to listen to the full episode yourself, not only is it talking about, rather briefly, mind you, the COVID relief bill, it's also talking about COVID-19, the disease itself, and the response to the disease itself that happened throughout all of last year. That second thing was what the episode was mostly about. So give it a listen yourself. It's linked down in the description box below. Clan OSG's upload of it anyways. But anyway, I guess continuing on though.
True, and obviously it's very harmful and very dangerous, as you can see there. Just super
harmful to your feelings. Oh, I feel so sad, Sahil. Allow me to get the world's smallest violin and start playing it for you.
Super racist. I'm actually shocked that they would do this, to even have the balls to do this. This is really extreme. As you guys know,
they have more balls than you, Sahil. I will at least say that. And by the way, I forgot to say this at the beginning of my live stream, but let me just annotate that I am not the biggest fan of Steven Crowder nowadays anyways. I used to have been a fan of him, but nowadays I am not as much of a fan ever since the Potholer 54 drama. I thought that Steve was a little bit too much of a pussy, to be quite blunt, and just dropping out of the idea of debating Potholer at all. And there was some scheduling conflicts, I guess. They were just trying to schedule Potholer last minute consistently when it was like freaking nighttime in his time zone, because Potholer is in Australia, they're in the United States, and they would be planning this in the daytime, their time anyways, Steven would, and then but also at nighttime when Potholer was pretty much having to go to bed. So much conflict in the scheduling and so forth, and yeah, ultimately Steve just decided, yeah, we're gonna give up. We're not going to try to pursue this debate anymore at all, and so that just disappointed me. And ever since then, I never really got back into consistently listening to Steven anyways. But I'm doing this mostly just to dunk on Progressive Voice, not so much to defend Steven Crowder, but not so much to defend Steven Crowder, but I guess to defend comedy and senses of humor itself, and to ask of what the standard is. What is the standard, Sahil? Like, again, like, should people not be playing off of racial stereotypes at freaking all? Or is it okay for one group to do it, but another group to not do it? Like, that later principle seems kind of hypocritical. Or principle, quote unquote.
Steven Crowder has made some really sketchy rape jokes as well. He made a joke in the past where, I should say quote unquote joke because he's not funny.
You say that as if it's a fact. No, it's really just your opinion, Sahil. I mean, I don't find I don't find Steven Crowder to be that funny. Like, personally, when it comes to favorite comedians of mine, I like Dave Chappelle, Gabriel Iglesias, and Eddie Griffin the most. Those are my 3 most favorite comedians. Steven Crowder probably would not even go in top 5, or even if I was to really start thinking about it, top 10 even. But nonetheless, it's really just your opinion. There are millions of other people that do find him funny. Progressives, I get so sick and tired of this. Progressives go thinking that they are the objective arbiters of what is funny whenever they go talking about Steven Crowder or any conservative that goes making jokes. It just makes me die a little bit on the inside every time they go espouting that sort of arrogance. Like, for fuck's sake. So apparently Steven Crowder making jokes about how Samuel L. Jackson is in like almost every movie in his Avengers skit that he did a few years back. Apparently that's not funny. That's not funny. Lighten up, people. I mean, just because he's on the right, or in your case, I guess, in your point of view, the far right, doesn't mean that every single freaking thing that he's ever said is objectively not funny. Come on. Get out of your partisanship.
I mean, it said something like, if a feminist is raped in a forest, did she actually get raped or something like that?
You don't see the humor in that? Seriously? I mean, they're just it's a play on the whole, if a bear shits in the woods, did they actually shit? Did it actually happen? Or if a bear shits in the woods and nobody witnesses it, did it actually happen? Or if a tree falls in the woods, like, did it actually happen? It's a play on that good old saying, Sahil, and it also a reference to, I can only presume anyways, that it's in reference to the whole Kavanaugh hearings. The allegations against Brett Kavanaugh anyways, from, what is it, her name? Christine Blasey Ford and all the rest of the women that made those allegations, sexual assault allegations against him, and even rape allegations, I guess. I don't know. Maybe none of them said a full-on rape, but they definitely said sexual assault. And he was like making references to how that there's not enough witnesses to what happened right then. So did it actually happen? And go playing off of that saying. I can't believe that I have to actually explain this joke. I feel so bad having to explain it. I feel like I'm just ruining the comedy. But then again, Progressive Voice kind of ruined the comedy himself when he goes shitting all over comedy in this video in of itself. So who am I? Yeah. So it's a bit of a moot point. It's all white Super Macy's, says Aircraft Sparky. Super Macy's? Wow. People can't witness what never happened, Aircraft Sparky says. Oh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have to press exit out on Christine Blasey Ford. But anyway, you say that Steven Crowder is not funny. I just gotta say, you have no sense of humor, Progressive Voice. I mean, you don't even have to find it personally funny yourself. You don't have to laugh at it yourself, but can you at least understand as to why that people would find this funny? Of what's the humor in it? Come on. Don't make us have to explain the jokes to you.
He's done a lot of sketchy shit. This guy is a pretty massive piece of shit.
Sketchy. Making jokes against feminists, rape allegations. That's sketchy. Bullshit. I mean, I don't like. Something tells me that the word sketchy does not actually mean what he thinks it means in this context. But you know what's really sketchy is a used car salesman trying to sell me a used car that they allege that the transmission was replaced. But then I go to buy the car, and it turns out that the transmission was actually not replaced and is actually about to give out here in a few days. So therefore, I'll have to buy another car later on. I've been conned, essentially. That is what's sketchy, is a used car salesman selling a car that is not in actual tip-top shape, or not as much in tip-top shape as much as they are like claiming it to be anyways. That's sketchy. But a person making jokes at feminists' expense, that's not sketchy. Steven Crowder is not by any means the most funny comedian, but occasionally he hits the nail on the head, says Aircraft Sparky. Precisely, Aircraft Sparky. And you know what? You know what I should have done? I should have gone listening to Red Fox, as you you got suggesting Red Fox to me a few months ago even, and I got that video in my watch later list, and I would maybe I'll listen to it right after this live stream actually. Aircraft Sparky says progressives are sketchy. Wonder how to tell when they're lying. Their lips are moving. Oh boy. But anyway.
And also, he's incredibly unfunny. But
okay, so he's getting into the substance of it. So to sort of in further extension of responding to Sahil on the whole comedy and racism side of it, let's go watching a little bit of Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin, one of my top favorite comedians. He is pretty much the king of making fun of racial stereotypes as a comedian, in my opinion anyways. I mean, maybe there are comedians out there that, hit the nail on the head as far as comedy goes a whole lot better and a whole lot more effectively and more humorously than Eddie Griffin. But as far as I've seen, Eddie Griffin, does a pretty damn good job at it. So, just for the sake of lightening up the stream and make a point against the heel, let's go watching this. I hope I do not get copyright struck for this.
Yeah, I ain't got no problem with white folks, you understand me? Because, it's the sneaky white people I don't like. I like rednecks myself, because rednecks are straight up down, honest in the motherfucker. Every time I do a show in the South, nigga, redneck come after the show. You's a funny nigger. Them motherfuckers just straight up, you's a funny nigger. I mean, all right, cracker. Next thing you know, we sitting at the bar chilling, having a drink, talking shit. I don't like them sneaky white people. Well, you were okay. And then as soon as they walk away, nigger.
That never gets old. Just the way that he delivers that line is so fucking funny. Never gets old. Red Fox is an amazing comedian, says Aircraft Sparky. Richard Pryor is a good comedian to watch as well. I'll definitely have to watch Richard Pryor. I go hearing a whole lot about how Richard Pryor is pretty much a legend in comedy. But anyway, that we'll save for later. But for right now, I'm just sticking with what I know.
Give me a redneck any day, because niggas and rednecks, when we go to war, nigga, we handle our business. I'd rather have a redneck on the front line with me, nigga. If I gotta go somewhere, nigga, that redneck gonna be right there. What the hell we gonna do, boy? You tell me what the hell's going on? Well, goddamn, this is urban warfare. You grew up in the hood. What block are they coming from? Because a brother gonna be like, man, if I was over here, I'd be hiding in that motherfucker right over there, nigga. That's where them bitches is at, right over there, cuz. I'm telling you, cuz, they over there, cuz. Niggas in Iraq sea walking, nigga.
Yeah. I just want to... okay, he mentioned Iraq. I just want to, mention for context. So, the first time that I got introduced to Eddie Griffin was actually a little skit that was titled, Eddie Griffin Owns Chris Rock. I guess Chris Rock was being a little bit overly praising of Barack Obama, at least in Eddie Griffin's opinion. And Eddie Griffin was all like, I have to press X to doubt on Obama. Obama is not as anti-war as he was claiming to be. He just turned the troops around from one location to another location, transferred them from Afghanistan to Iraq. It was his criticism against Chris Rock's praising of Obama. And ever since then, I've been listening to more and more of Eddie Griffin's stuff on occasion. And he cracks me up. Oh, but I'm a white person, and he goes making fun of white people's stereotypes. I should have my feelings hurt and be calling Eddie Griffin a racist and be hating on him. It's so horrible. He goes putting on a southern twang accent as he's trying to impersonate a redneck. It's so fucking horrible. At least that's what I would be like if I was anything like Sahil Habibi.
That redneck be like this. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to smoke him out with that wacky tobacco you call a blunt. Once he comes out of there, I'm gonna shoot him in the fucking head with a 30-06. Goddamn right, I hunt back home. Some rednecks, some hunting motherfuckers, boy, they can shit a fly off a deer's head 500 yards. They ain't bullshitting.
So Sahil has a problem with Steve making fun of, the black people stereotype of, doing crack or listening to rap or some other stuff like that. So by that same logic, I should be having problem with Eddie Griffin here. Oh man, he goes making fun of rednecks, saying that they're just all stereotypically a bunch of hunting armed, gun owners. Oh, it's so terrible. He goes pointing out that stereotype and making fun of it. So terrible.
Shit, I was still chilling with a redneck partner of mine a couple weeks ago. They got some nigga jokes for your ass. No, I ain't bullshitting.
By the way, I've watched this particular clip so many freaking times. If it was my first time, I'd be laughing a whole lot louder. But for right now, I've seen it so many, so my funny bone is kind of numb, just a little bit to this clip, but nonetheless, it still gets a crack out of me.
Motherfucker got some jokes, and you don't want to laugh, but the shit be funny in the motherfucker. That motherfucker said, Eddie, I got a joke for you, since you're the funny man. I said, well, go right ahead, Skeeter. He said, what do you call a nigger in a tree with a suit and a briefcase? I said, I don't know. Branch manager.
Yeah, this stream is now age restricted for the how many times the N-word gets used.
I wanted to hit the motherfucker, but you gotta let. He said, I ain't done yet, boy. I got another one. What's the difference between a nigger and a snow tire? Snow tire don't sing when you put chains on it. So after I got done whooping his ass, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't have lived back in slave days, man.
All right, I think that's pretty much it that we're going to watch of that clip. So to continue lightening up the mood just a little bit, maybe I'll watch a little bit of this one right here. This one is a little bit fresh in my mind. Well, actually, go watching this one because it's a little bit shorter. This looks like him back in his older days or something, because that's a pretty young-looking Eddie Griffin. But let's see what we got here.
White people, y'all don't even know how funny y'all are. Y'all chuckle a minute. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing against y'all. I just think y'all funny people. Just the way y'all walk crack me the fuck up. You know, just be all tight and shit. How's it going, Jim? How's it going? Yep.
I just noticed that he's wearing an upside-down cross. I wonder of how he feels about Christianity legitimately. But anyway, getting off of that serious point anyways.
Steve, hey, Bob, yeah. Brothers, we do everything with rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Brother be strolling. Hey. You can talk to a brother mid-stride, he won't miss a step. Hey, Leroy. Yeah, what's up, man? Try that with somebody white. Tom! Well, what is it? What? Damn it. I'm concentrating. 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, because all white people do is goose stepping, right? No.
I'd like to take this time to thank you Caucasian people for inviting us here to America. That was real nice of y'all. You know, y'all laughing, I'm serious in the motherfucker. Because I watched the Discovery Channel. And Africa ain't a place a nigga really want to be right now. Them motherfuckers over there starving, hungry, and I'm staying right here in America where I can get a bucket of chicken for $3.95.
Jeez.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck the dumb shit, man.
Is making fun of the whole, racist history that leftists go pointing out all the time about, the transatlantic slave trade, but also at the same time doing a bit of self-deprecation. Genius. Fucking genius. Oh man, I just did the white power symbol. Cancel me, everybody. No. That's the okay symbol for all of you plebs out there. For all of you freaking snowflakes.
Cause you always see them starving kid commercials, them Africans look like they've been eating powdered donuts all around their mouth and shit. Flies all around their damn head. I'm watching last night, one of them had a fly on his eyeball. On his goddamn eyeball. I'm sitting there yelling at the TV set, blink, motherfucker! Blink! I know they weak and everything, but goddamn, get the fly off. Fly just roller skating around and shit.
Roller skating on an eyeball. No.
You know what I'm saying? And white people, when y'all get mad at us, like over the OJ thing, you remember that. One nigga fuck up, they want to kill all of us. Fuck OJ, that's not our nigga. That's y'all nigga. You know what I'm saying? After he fuck up, you want to send him back to us. We don't want him. That's y'all nigga. He never killed nobody when he hung out with niggas. Got with y'all, chop, chop, stab, stab. We knew he wasn't a nigga from them fucking commercials. Only nigga that can run through the airport. Through security. Nobody touch him.
Well, it's more because he's elite. I don't know. What was exactly O.J. Simpson's job even before he got, before all the court hearings and whatnot of his murder and whatnot? Was he an actor or rapper or some other kind of celebrity? I don't know. Maybe my ignorant ass ought to actually search up to what his occupation was. But all this stuff. I mean, I can see as to how that's somewhat of a point. There's a bit of a serious point mixed in with somewhat of a joke and humor mixed both together in Eddie Griffin's whole spiel here. I don't think that Eddie Griffin is explicitly hateful or racist toward white people or anything like that. But if I was Sahil Habibi and this was a white guy talking about, I don't know, say if in the future Eminem was charged with murder and there was a whole bunch of court hearings over those said murders and whatnot, and it was a white guy saying Eminem, as soon as he was hanging out with black people, he was doing murders and so forth. When he was hanging out with white people, he wasn't doing all that stuff and blah blah blah. Whatever rhetorical situation that you can invent. If Sahil would be obviously saying that was pretty fucking racist. But me here, I don't go over analyzing it so much. But then again, I guess to be fair, I guess there is a little bit of a point, more of a suspicion or anxiousness, might I say, when it comes to Sahil witnessing Steven Crowder make jokes and whatnot. The difference is that Steven Crowder is a political pundit, whereas Eddie Griffin, he isn't really a political pundit. He has political beliefs that he has espoused before, and he is rather left-leaning, Eddie Griffin is. And by the way, since I'm on that note, actually, I just want to annotate that I'm not pulling up Eddie Griffin to say that Eddie Griffin agrees with right-wingers on policy or anything like that. I'm just pulling him up as an example of a black comedian who's legitimately funny in spite of the fact that he does poking at white people's stereotypes and whatnot, and go playing on the history that white people are involved in the example, to make a parallel example to Steven Crowder joking on the whole cotton fields thing that happened around the time of the Civil War. and Sahil like bitching about that and whatnot. But I'm just using him as an example of how that poking at racial stereotypes is not in of itself fucking racist or hateful or anything like that. I mean, if you're gonna say that it's racist or hateful on Steven Crowder's part, again, leftists. Is Eddie Griffin like a big old piece of shit racist or something like that? I do not care. I do not give a flying fuck about any power imbalances that you want to pull out of your ass, or punching down or punching up sophistry sort of talking points and whatnot. Let's be consistent right here. Let's not look at any sort of skin color in regards to these people and what humor that they're allowed to espouse or whatnot, without getting lambasted as some piece of shit that ought to be shunned away from society or whatever. In fact, I just want to say that Eddie Griffin, he might even agree with the idea of reparations for black people, as far as I know. But I'm not pulling him up on the whole policy side of this debate over the COVID relief bill and the little reparations towards black farmers aspect of it. I'm just pulling him up for the humor aspect of responding to Sahil.
Let one of us in here run through the motherfucking airport. Click, click, get down, get down.
Oh wait, O.J. Simpson, I just Googled it up right now. Football running back. I guess that was what he was before he got charged with murder and whatnot. He was a football running back. Not a quarterback, apparently. Or at least that's here, let me pull this up actually very quickly. See, right there, football running back. That is what he actually is. He was a running back in the NFL. Okay, yeah, Aircraft Sparky goes clarifying as well. He was a running back in the NFL, then became an actor. He won the Heisman in college playing for USC. All right, well, thanks for schooling me, Aircraft Sparky. And yeah, apparently that's the thing. I mean, it's not so much of the whole racial aspect of it. I mean, if I was to like get serious with Eddie Griffin, it's not so much of the it's not so much the racial aspect of it, of what type of people he hung out with on the race side of things. It's the fact that he was, you know, a part of the elite, being a football player and whatnot. You know, I think we're just going to end it right there as far as looking at Eddie Griffin clips. Maybe I'll look at more just for my own amusement, but Eddie Griffin, white people, just search that up and go watching it yourself. And you can like see that just looking at the humor on the surface of it, comparing him to Steven Crowder, you could see that it's about just as insensitive, air quotes, as Steven Crowder's bit there that Sahil was responding to. And Sahil goes calling Steven Crowder racist, harmful, and a piece of shit for that. But people like Eddie Griffin aren't. Like, just to clarify, I do not know what Sahil's full response or opinion would be about black comedians making fun of white people's stereotypes, but nonetheless, has he ever spoken about that? Or does he believe in some double standard? I'm not for absolute certain, but I've rambled on enough. Let's get on to the actual video itself of Progressive Voice.
You guys may or may not actually know, this kind of gives a good opportunity to really highlight the discriminatory practices that have been used against black people. But again, I want to say, generally speaking, throughout American history, anything that has happened, that's whether it's relief or giving credit or things of that nature, it's always been inequitable because of racism, right? So even the New Deal, for example, was...
Is it inequitable because of modern day racism? Or is it inequitable because of past racism that was then, for the most part, alleviated, gotten rid of? And then black people were just naturally given a raw deal because of that racism. And then they haven't ever been able to naturally fully recover from the past oppression. Anyway.
Black people getting the short end of the stick. Okay, that's just what happens throughout all of American history, so it's not surprising when that kind of a thing happens. But there's actually a lawsuit,
and I'm pretty sure that Steven Crowder wasn't denying it in that clip right there. am pretty sure, like, oh god, it's like again, it's been a while since I have watched Steven Crowder, but nonetheless, has he ever denied it? I highly doubt that he's ever denied the talking point right there from Sahil that U.S. quite honestly does have a systemically racist past. I mean, he would deny any current allegations post 1960s America of being racist. Obviously, he would argue against that, but does he deny like pre-1960s systemic racism? I doubt it.
So this says, for more than a century, the USDA's discriminatory policies have been a fact of life for black farmers, but they first came to national attention in 1997, after Timothy Pigford and 400 black farmers filed a class action lawsuit against the agency. That suit, known as Pigford versus Glickman, charged the USDA with discriminating against black farmers when distributing loans.
Are they discriminating against black farmers? Or is it just that they coincidentally happen to averagely have a low credit score, and so therefore USDA finds that they are like less eligible for having loans? I mean, I'm just asking. There is the possibility that it isn't so much of a racist motive as to why that they are denying these loans, but just because of black people statistically and coincidentally having a raw deal when they're born into life.
And also, with failing to investigate complaints regarding this widespread bias, the government ultimately settled, compensating more than 16,200 black farmers victimized by these racist practices. Only 371 black farmers received debt relief. In 2010, the agency announced the second Pigford settlement of $1.25 billion, which compensated thousands of additional farmers who had missed the original filing deadline. It says, altogether, the Pigford case represents the largest discrimination settlement ever paid by the federal government. The racism exposed by Pigford had its roots in the mostly white local committees charged with distributing USDA loans to farmers. In the South especially, it was common for these government officials to deny black farmers access to credit, to intentionally delay the release of funds to blacks, or to ignore their loan applications altogether. And so that's something...
So I gone actually pre-reading the article. I mean, sadly enough, Steven Crowder actually did not. Steven Crowder, my bad. Sahil did not actually provide a link to the article itself that he was reading right there, the Fortune article. He gone providing a citation to Media Matters. I pre-read that article too. The Media Matters article is the one that goes talking about Steven Crowder's clip, whatnot, where that he goes on the alleged racism and whatnot. But he just provides Media Matters. He doesn't actually provide the Fortune article, but I managed to actually find it. Discrimination has become a fact of life for black farmers that must end. This is the same one that Sahil was reading right there. And unlike Sahil, I actually have this article linked down in the description box below, so go ahead and read that if you care to. But me pre-reading it, my review of it is that it isn't like... It goes making some vague arguments as to how and why it is that black people, or black farmers more specifically, are discriminated against as opposed to white farmers here in the country. But a whole lot of the argumentation made from this article right here, at least half of it, is that they go on bitching about the whole, how there's a lack of diversity basically within the USDA and other sort of bureaucratic Washington, D.C. organizations, etc. Like, that's not an issue in of itself. Like, I'm sorry to say, but as it stands right now, anyways, in the U.S., white people are the majority. I'm not saying that as a good or bad thing, as much as I am not saying that it's either a good or bad thing that, that there is a lack or a lack of diversity within these groups, anyways, as Fortune is pointing out here. Like, it isn't automatically a good or bad thing, lack of diversity anyways. I mean, unless you're going to actually try to assert that white people are generally either apathetic to racism or just outright racist themselves, which I would heavily doubt that little accusation right there. How do you substantiate that claim? Otherwise, whatever alleged racism that would happen within the USDA, all the people who are actually against racism, or at least not racist themselves and don't like racism, at worst, I think all the non-racists are ignorant of the actual racists and their racist practices against black farmers within the USDA. At best, USDA, I highly doubt that USDA is discriminating against black farmers based off of the sole fact of them being black. So that's my what I have to say as to why that I think that it's not a big deal, as to why that they are mostly, if not entirely, white, USDA and all those other organizations. I mean, if they did get more diverse, well then, okay, whatever, cool beans. I would go asking as to what the beliefs are of all these people being appointed and whatnot. But yeah, as the good old Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have a dream that people would be judged based off the content of their character and not the color of their skin. That might not be the verbatim quote, but you get my idea right there. T. Douglas McIntosh in the chat says, in Freddie Mercury voice, ayo. Hello, T. Douglas. How are you doing? This episode of Strike Force isn't very lively, sadly enough. Hopefully it'll pick up a little bit more in the algorithm afterwards. Maybe it's because I go mentioning COVID-19 in the tags as to why that it's not doing so well, and YouTube decide to flag it or whatever. But anyway, so because of this article making too big of a deal about basically a non-issue, that being a lack of diversity in these organizations, I just have to really question the substantiation and credibility of this article because of that alone. And we're going to be actually looking and reading into the bill itself, the COVID-19 relief bill, and the whole reparations side of it in this USA Today article here in a little bit, after we are actually done with responding to Sahil. T. Douglas says, good, you? I'm alright. I was feeling pretty energetic for this live stream, and I'm glad I'm getting it out of the way.
That should be the least surprising thing ever. Racism applications altogether. And so that's something that should be the least surprising thing ever. Racism has been incredibly prevalent in the United States. You know what I mean? And you're talking about the past some years during these...
I mean, if you're talking about pre-1960s racism, no shit. Nobody is surprised about that at all, Sahil. I don't think Steve is surprised of that at all. But any post-1960s racism, or at least accusations of post-1960s systemic racism, that's the only thing that, we right-wingers have qualms with leftists on here in America anyways. Racism exists literally everywhere, says Aircraft Sparky. Apparently.
Times, of course, mostly white people who are running, the USDA and running the local committees in terms of giving out these loans. There was redlining and, preventing black people from being able to purchase homes.
All right, so I gone saying throughout this live stream, especially the beginning parts, that I had not done a whole lot of research in preparation for this, but I did do some scant research into this part. But I would still urge that y'all go check out the Actual Justice Warrior video that I have linked down in the description box below, where he goes talking about redlining himself and other aspects in regards of racism and whatnot here in America. It's a whole lot more well detailed than I could ever substantiate it. But go talking about the whole redlining issue. When I got looking into this, just off of a basic search, redlining began in the 1930s, and it ended in the late 1960s. When did redlining officially end? This is, of course, according to Wikipedia anyway, so take that for what you will, but I'm just using it as a baseline, people. In the United States, the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was passed to fight the practice. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Fair Housing Act makes it unlawful to discriminate in the terms, conditions, or privileges of sale of a dwelling because of race or national origin. Now, Despite of what cases, anecdotes of redlining leftists might want to point out that happen still nowadays, still it's technically made illegal. I mean, you know what? Now that I go thinking about it, I had a debate against Gabe as Gunk. If none of you all ever saw that, in that debate, the third subject that we gone talking about was a whole lot about racism, and redlining was mentioned a whole lot. And even Gabe as Gunk, a sock dem sort of leftist, I guess is how I would substantiate his beliefs anyways. A little bit of an intersectional feminist as well. But even gonna admitting, and or at least given the benefit of doubt anyways, that redlining is already illegal. And basically I gone saying that whatever redlining that does happen, it's already made illegal, so I don't think it's because of systemic racism, it's more anecdotal racism, whatever examples of redlining that you might find. Systemically, it's still not allowed, just anecdotally, it still happens, was what I said there. And even he admits that, yeah, it's not allowed. But to sort of get off of that bit of rambling, so it ended in 1968. So if we were to like go off of the 1968 point, roughly, which would be roughly right there according to this graph by Zillow.com. This is like in the description box of my video and also AJW's video as he goes reviewing this and showcasing this graph. And I'll have to like read this after the live stream. But in 1968, that point being right about here. So basically back then, black people, they owned the percentage, the gap between black and white home ownership rates has widened since 1900. So black ownership, home ownership was about 41, 42%, something like that. Whereas for white people, it was closer to 65, 66% or something like that. So it's about a 24 percentage gap. Whereas back in 1900, it was a bigger, almost 28% gap. So even in the days of redlining, black people were still like getting increasingly better in their home ownership, ironically enough anyways. So it makes one go asking, is it because of redlining or whatever that black people are not able to like get loans or get homes, buy their own homes and whatnot? Like, it just strikes a bit of a nick in that narrative, because leftists will put forth this narrative that, oh, it's because of redlining as to why that black people aren't doing so well when it comes to home ownership. But ironically enough, when redlining was actually still institutionalized, they were still doing better back then than they are now, ironically enough. Especially compared to white people. But yeah. And of course, that little spike right there was right before the 2008 housing crash. But nonetheless, I just have to press X to doubt on the whole narrative that Sahil here is trying to sell as redlining supposedly being an example of racism. I mean, is it really because of racism? Because it seems to be in the midst of the racist policy itself actually being active. Again, black people were, ironically enough, as a group, as a community, doing better in home ownership than they are doing now. So Aircraft Sparky says in the chat, there is no place in the world I've been to where one race isn't discriminated against. The U.S. happens to be one of the least racist countries in the modern world. Cool. I'm glad that you could like give your anecdotal, personal story on that front, Sparky.
So some of the things that were alleged in this was, the people, the USDA giving out loans would just be like, no, I'm not going to give it to you, or you don't qualify, or this is too much, that was enough. Just denying the same way that, home sales would be denied and things of that nature. So it's really not surprising even slightly. This is a very serious issue, of course. Black farmers have completely plummeted. And again, I have to repeat, man, farmers are constantly getting relief nonstop, right? Farmers are pretty much like one of the bases of the Republican Party. But the relief is not equitable towards black people. It never has been. Racism has obviously been super, super prevalent in the United States, as you guys all know. So the fact that he's doing this is really just
What did he say? As you guys won't know? Or I don't know. Never mind. It's probably a bit of a slur in his speech or whatever. Mumbling. as Sahil usually does. He's a big-time mumbler, Sahil is. Not gonna lie. That's one of the biggest problems that I have with Sahil.
A really serious douchebag move. I don't know if there's going to be any repercussions for this, because there's some really serious stuff you're talking about.
Really serious stuff, racist jokes. So apparently I should be like making a serious issue about Eddie Griffin again making fun of white people's stereotypes. According to this logic anyways. And he goes saying that he doesn't know if there's going to be any repercussions to Steven Crowder. Like, he did get his episode of Louder with Crowder taken down, and I mean, what further repercussions do you want, Sahil? Do you want his channel to be taken down off of YouTube entirely? Do you want hate speech laws or something like that to be enacted against Steven Crowder and people like him? Like, what do you want? Like, you know what is sketchy? He goes saying that supposedly Steven Crowder making anti-feminist jokes, making jokes against feminists is sketchy. This is what is sketchy right here. The fucking him saying that he does not know if there's going to be any repercussions against Steven. Sahil saying that anyways. Like, that's what's sketchy right there. Like, what is he advocating for? It's not made clear. That is what's freaking sketchy. But anyway.
Making jokes about obviously the most persecuted group in the United States, the most, storied history in terms of persecution in the United States.
Are they really? I mean, if I was to be, I don't know, more so than gay people, more so than trans people, even, Sahil? Just asking the question for the sake of conversation. Not that I'm making any serious message or implying even some serious message on my part, but I'm just asking, more so than trans people, more so than gay people? Anyway.
And it's fucked up, man. It's really disgusting, holds society back, and this kind of debt relief is good. It is a form of reparations, essentially, which is good to see happen, because black farmers got the bad end of the stick. They got, they proved it definitely in court in that Glickman case.
I mean, whatever. Okay. So putting aside the whole racism and joke side of it, I'm just against reparations, full stop. I'm against subsidies and all these COVID-19 relief bills. So many COVID-19, so many trillions of dollars printed and given out to the public, to businesses, and to people. It's just so freaking expensive. That's the first thing that I have to say as to why that I'm against this stuff in general. But reparations, not only am I personally against reparations because of the cost of it, and I'm pretty sure that'd be Steven Crowder's belief as well, and, a whole lot of other right-wingers within his community, and even my communities as well, my community. But also because, I mean, if there was, like, any black person that was actually stolen from or actually persecuted in any physical sort of way, in the matter of slavery, let's say, for example, you could possibly make more of an argument for reparations towards those type of people. But here in this case, black farmers, unless they were actually being stolen from by the government, all their farm equipment and all that other stuff, unless that happened, I do not see as to why exactly they are deserving of reparations. I mean, yeah, you have an argument that whatever aid was given to farmers, it was discriminatorily given for white people as opposed to black people, disproportionately towards white people as compared to black people. But in the first place, I say that really farmers did not deserve aid and subsidies as a libertarian anyways, in the first place. So why make up for it with just more freebies to people? Is one of my questions anyways. There was something more that I wanted to say, but maybe it'll come back to me later.
They obviously got the short end of the stick, as black people have sort of got in all of American history, essentially, because there's the history of the United States is filled with racism, and when you are passing relief for farmers, the people who are administering that relief are often racist because American history has been run on racism. So I don't know why it would be hard.
God. The past is not always a reflection on the present, Sahil. Especially if the past is just represented by completely different people than from the people that represent the present. Like, this, just because Joe Johnson from the past was racist does not mean that Billy Billards of the present is racist. This is not exactly good argumentation or a good argument to show as to how it is that in the present the USDA or any other organization is being racist against black farmers.
Hard for anybody to believe unless you are racist yourself, maybe, and you're convincing yourself that you're not. I don't know. That'd be the only way, maybe. Often racist because American history has been run on racism. So I don't know why it would be hard for anybody to believe unless you are racist yourself, maybe, and you're convincing yourself that you're not.
Doubting accusations of racism is not racist in of itself. Come on, get off your high horse, you pompous prick. Asshole. Let me hear the point again.
So I don't know why it would be hard for anybody to believe unless you are racist yourself, maybe, and you're convincing yourself that you're not. I don't know. That'd be the only way, maybe, but yeah, it's just pretty crazy.
Anyway, glad that is done and out of the way, and sorry if I gone rambling a little bit too much throughout this for anybody who might have been watching in the past and, I don't know, thought, hey, screw this guy, he's boring, referring to me anyways. White guy banned from comedy show for having dreads? Abba and Preach. Let me see if I can put that on my What's Later list. There we go. So, anyway, to be getting into diving into the substance of this current COVID-19 relief bill anyways, this is from USA Today. How $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill aims to help black and socially disadvantaged farmers. Joe Biden definitely looking to be a big-time spender that rivals Obama, Bush, and Trump. It is a never-ending pattern of reckless spending. Washington. Tucked into the massive $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill signed into law by President Joe Biden on Thursday is a provision aimed at benefiting farmers of color who are socially disadvantaged in a move to cover outstanding debt. The provision, which was drawn from the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act, was inserted into the relief package and includes $5 billion that will go to socially disadvantaged farmers of color. These include Black, Hispanic, Native American, or Asian American farmers. $4 billion would go toward covering up to 120% of outstanding debt, and $1 billion is designated for outreach training, education, technical assistance, and grants. It's part of the $10.4 billion provided in the package for agricultural and food supply sectors. Democrats hailed the inclusion of relief for farmers of color as vital to addressing historic inequalities, particularly for black farmers, whose numbers have declined and who have faced discrimination. Money for colleges, libraries, and clubs. 10 things you might not know are in Biden's COVID-19 relief package. The loan provision is intended to address the historical discrimination against socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers and address issues related to the coronavirus pandemic, according to the text of the bill. Republican criticism of measure. The legislation has met mixed reactions. Some see it as a long-needed attempt to repair historic injustices, by giving freebies out to people who ultimately had not suffered. When I go saying that, by the way, people, I'm not saying that the black community as a whole hasn't suffered. I mean, obviously it has suffered in the past, but modern day black people are not the same as past day black people. The grandson of, Joey Smith in the 40s or 50s or whatever did not suffer the same systemic racism as, his grandfather did. Others, including a prominent Republican lawmakers, accuse Democrats of adding it to the relief package as a part of a wish list of items that don't relate to the pandemic. Right? I mean, poison pill amendment again, folks. Whole bunch of these poison pills being put in these COVID relief packages. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, slammed out-of-control liberals for putting it in the package, calling the provision reparations, remedies that may include compensation to address the U.S. government's role in perpetuating the harms of slavery against black Americans. In this bill, if you're a farmer, your loan will be forgiven up to 120% of your loan if you're socially disadvantaged. If you're African American, some other minority, but if you're a white person, if you're a white woman, no forgiveness. That's reparations. That's reparations. By being discriminatory on who you give out debt relief to. You know, that's ironically enough racist itself. I mean, you do not fix past racism by being racist in the present. I mean, it's not the most egregious case of racism, but it is almost by definition racist, quite frankly. You're discriminating based off of race in this regard. Is that not definitively racist? What does that have to do with COVID? Graham said in an interview with Fox News. Senator Pat Toomey, Republican of Pennsylvania, said it was unconstitutional and argued that Congress should not pass aid that would go toward only those of the right race. I do not know exactly as to how it would be unconstitutional per se. I mean, it's not like that the government is actively hurting or harming people based off of their race. They're just actively giving aid to people based off of their race over other people of a different race. No proof of income or loss incurred due to COVID is needed to qualify. Just skin color or when you came to the country, Toomey said in a tweet decrying the provision. A white farmer struggling to get by in Appalachia or anywhere else in the nation is disqualified because of his skin color. Is this what the Democrats have in mind for racial equity? Toomey's office noted a report in 2005 from the U.S. Department of Agriculture found small farmers were on the decline across all rural communities. Republican senators attempted to remove the provision from the relief package with an amendment proposed by Toomey. The farming legislation was led by Senator Raphael Warnock, Democrat, Georgia, right, along with Senator Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey. Wait, really? I thought, for some reason, I thought Cory Booker was New York. I mean, I guess I'm wrong, but anyway. Ben Ray Lujan, Democrat of New Mexico, and Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat of Michigan, who chairs the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. And I just say in my own commentary that not only should the whole reparations side of this bill not be given out, but none of it should be given out. Like, stop it with the whole COVID relief bills. Like, the first one was bad enough. And the first one, I would say, was too much, going a step too far in of itself, and really sets us up for a new coming recession. But anyway, and you're just making it worse with this being like what, the third COVID relief bill being given out? Jeez. For too long, farmers of color have been left to fend for themselves, not getting the support that they deserve from the USDA, making it even more difficult for them to recover from this pandemic. Warnock said in a Senate floor speech responding to Toomey, "We have an opportunity here to lift all of our rural communities by aiming the aid where it is needed, given our historic past, which is very much present." Stabenow, I do not know exactly how that's pronounced, but Stabenow praised Warnock's role in crafting the provision, telling Rolling Stone magazine it is an important piece of reparations. Though Graham argued reparations were not suited to a COVID-19 relief bill. So apparently, I just want to pause here for a second. Stabenow says that he called it an important piece of reparations. He said it himself. One of the fellow Democrats in Warnock's camp. But I just wanted to go pointing this out very quickly. Because apparently I just got looking at the very titles of all these articles here, basically lambasting Lindsey Graham for saying that this is reparation. Where was it exactly? I mean, the head of the National Association of Black Farmers is calling on Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican of South Carolina, to apologize for referring to relief money from the American Rescue Plan as reparations. Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit that you'd be criticizing Lindsey Graham for calling a spade when really you got someone else in the Democrat Party that is calling a spade a spade. I mean, get off it. You're just going on about nothing at that point. One second, though. I want to just see this for myself. I want to check something very quickly. Stabenow. Danis. What? No. Debbie Stabenow. What? She's I just feel like making for absolute certain on this because I said that she's a Democrat. I just want to like double check for myself. Assumed office. Oh, assumed office leader Chuck Schumer. I'm pretty sure that she is of the Democratic Party, though. Anyway, get off of that before things get too boring. Stabenow praised Warnock's role in crafting the provision, telling Rolling Stone magazine it is an important piece of reparations. Though Graham argued reparations were not suited to a COVID-19 relief bill, Stabenow said it was important to address the long-standing areas of discrimination and racial disparity on land ownership and farmers, particularly in the South. Did they mention Stabenow a little bit earlier? Oh yeah, the Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat, Michigan. Okay, so I did not mean to go to a different article, but nonetheless, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to my own reading right there. Little brain fart right there. Where's I gonna go? Historically left out of federal aid, black farmers concentrated in the South in Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and Mississippi have been historically discriminated against, losing about 12 million acres of farmland since the 1950s. Now, how were they losing it? Now, you say that they were discriminated against, but at the same time, you use the word losing instead of being stolen about 12 million acres of farmland. Like, if somebody is just naturally losing their farmland because of, I don't know, economic circumstances, they weren't able to, provide the pay for the upkeep, of those acres of farmland, and so they ended up being forced by their own life circumstances to sell. I mean, how exactly is that discriminating against? It seems being discriminated against. It seems that they're doing that of their own volition, just in that little rhetorical situation that I mentioned right there. A study done by the Government Accountability Office in 2019 found that, according to USDA data, socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers get a disproportionately small amount of farm loans compared with farmers and ranchers of other groups. Okay, so that's what they're saying is the discrimination again. Is how they're giving out loans to white farmers but not black farmers so that black farmers can keep up the upkeep of their acres of farmland. I mean, again, is it because of a lack of good credit history, or is it really because of their race? Is the question I pose. People are just not able to substantiate and say without beyond the further shadow of a doubt that the USDA and other groups like that are just saying, oh, we don't like you because you're black, so therefore we're not going to give you this loan or whatever. In 2010, Congress approved a settlement of $1.2 billion in what was known as the Pigford case after thousands of black farmers had received payments as part of a class action settlement in 1999 to address claims that the USDA denied loans and other assistance because of race. The USDA has faced accusations of discrimination for decades. was taking a swig of my drink. Proponents of the farming provision said the infusion for black farmers would be the most significant since the Civil Rights Act of 1964, according to the Washington Post. The Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act would provide financial assistance to help those farmers who historically have been left out of federal aid, said a statement by John Boyd, founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association. Righting wrongs. Congress is taking another look at reparations for slavery. That might be another article for me to look at in the future. You know what? Let me see if it'll... new link. So, put that aside. Save that for later. And continuing on. Biden pledged that his administration would tackle inequalities in the agriculture industry. His administration backed a proposal to study reparations for slavery that is being contemplated by Congress. For generations, socially disadvantaged farmers have struggled to fully succeed due to systemic discrimination and a cycle of debt. On top of the economic pain caused by the pandemic, farmers from socially disadvantaged communities are dealing with a disproportionate share of COVID-19 infection rates, hospitalizations, death, and economic hurt. Biden's picked to hand the USDA. Tom Vilsack said in a statement applauding the passage of the relief package. The sweeping coronavirus aid package also includes $1,400 direct checks to individuals, billions to help schools and colleges reopen, and funding for vaccine distribution. End of article. And we have pretty much hit the 1.5 hour mark, and so I think I'm going to actually leave the show right there because primarily because I do not have much of an audience right now, and no point in going much further if that's going to remain the case. And also because I did not really prep any further articles to be reading for today's episode. So anyway, yeah, I just find it ridiculous, the lack of sense of humor anyways from Progressive Voice, and as to why that he would be getting on somebody else's case just for poking at racial stereotypes, but then not be getting on other comedians' cases for also doing the same. Get on Steve's case for doing such, but also not really get on Eddie Griffin or anyone else's, or any other more left-leaning comedian in general's case for poking fun at white people stereotypes. And even with the whole race issue aside, I still disapprove of the whole relief package in general. And my solution, as far as when it comes to this whole issue of, discriminatory loans being given out to white farmers over black farmers, the fix that I want to that is not to be taken back any reparations at all, or excuse me, not reparations, not to be taken back any subsidies, loans, or relief, or any sort of welfare that has already been given to people. I don't want to necessarily undo what was already given by taking it back. I mean, just in the same way that I don't want to be taking back anyone's welfare at all that was already given, be it a black welfare recipient, a white welfare recipient, or even a Hispanic welfare recipient, or even a freaking illegal immigrant welfare recipient. I don't think it's really possible to I don't think it's really even possible to take back that money in all literal fairness. But even if it was, that's not what I advocate for. I just say that we ought to stop it full on. Full stop. Stop giving out all the relief packages and whatnot. Although I guess I am being a little bit off base now that I think about it, because it's more of loans. It's not like that they're just giving a plain free check to white farmers over black farmers or whatever, the USDA, because the term that they kept on using was loans and not subsidies or bailouts or whatever was a technical term. So I don't know. It's something that ought to be thought about more, a little bit more on my part, I guess. Be thinking a little bit more and researching a little bit more into the credits history issue of this, the whole credit history side of this issue anyways. And how that might be the reason as to why that disproportionately black people are not given as many loans as white people, as opposed to plain and simple freaking race and hatred of people of different races, as Sahil alleges. But anyway. So I will see you all later. I think I'm going to end it right here, and who knows, I may even do like a gaming stream on my secondary channel if I feel like it tonight. But anyway, if you all like this live stream, go ahead and hit that like button down below. If you're a detractor who completely disliked what I have to say, well then hit that dislike button as well. I mean, any kind of activity would help at this point within this live stream, because it's not doing as successful as the last episode, but whatever. If you want to see more content like this, well then hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification button and set it to all. Anyway, see y'all later and have a good weekend.